17 years old girl born and living in Istanbul. So excuse my probably bad English. My parents, 50th and 51 mem, have been married for 25 years and they love each other, have a great relationship even though like every couple, they have arguments. My mother left France to be with my father in Turkey after meeting each other in England. And they have one of the most romantic story. We have a big family in France and in Turkey, and everyone is close with each other. I have a younger brother, he is 15 years old. We both go to a French school where our mother works as a librarian. I am currently in my last high school year and preparing myself to enter into fine arts next year in Europe. I always loved my father, and we have a great relationship, and I always trusted him. So I was shocked to find Tinder on his phone Saturday. For information, I have never been the kind of child to look into my parents' phone, and I don't have one either, personnel choice. So I had my digital finger saved on his phone. I was at the kitchen with my mother, and I thought at first it wasn't true, I had just imagined it. But no, I have a few photos that I won't be posting here and will keep to myself for now. I was devastated and immediately went to my room to cry and talk to a friend of mine that I know for a long time. During 4 days, I was upset. Thank God my brother wasn't there. The morning I discover it because my first reflex was to go to him to tell him. But now that I think of it, it is better that he doesn't know it yet. Now, I still love my dad, but he doesn't have my trust and I feel extremely bad in regard of my mother and don't know how to react or take all of this information. I feel betrayed. I am like in denial. The finding of Tinder on my father's phone, the messages, they are like a bad dream in my head, forgetting them and they come back. I am like, that's not possible. It cannot be true. It's like a TV series. So I also need to come to the real realization, as my mind put it in a not real category, because I absolutely don't understand why or how it happened. I don't think of saying anything to anyone except, well, my friend with who I spoke, at least until I am calm and can think rationally. I have a selfish side where I don't want my family to be wrecked. I just want to forget it and move on. But at the same time, I have that side of me who need to say the truth and can't pretend for long. I don't know if I should wait until I am going for my studies, but I want to be here for my mother and my brother, but I also don't want to be here to see my family fall apart. This is a story from about 8 years ago. I'd started dating my ex. He was a lot of what I was looking for. He was validating and funny. He took me to nice restaurants and he made me laugh. He was great at salsa dancing and he taught me salsa. I thought he was the love of my life, the one. There were some things that I thought were suspicious. Things were too good to be true. He wanted to settle down and get married. A month after we started dating, he wanted me to meet his family. Within 3 months, he asked me to marry him. I thought him wanting to get married in 3 months was very suspicious. In addition to that, I would use his iPad and there would be flickers of porn, like penises on his iPad. The first time I thought it was weird. The second time I knew things were wrong. I searched in his iPad and I found an email in his sent box about him being a bottom. For those of you who are not aware, a bottom is the female side of a gay couple. I confronted him. He cried and said that it wasn't him. However, I kind of knew at that point what was happening. I was going to travel back home to see my family. I think it was Thanksgiving holiday. I had a feeling that something would happen while I was gone. Sure enough, I searched his computer and found photos of him, parts of his anatomy, specifically his butt. The photos were taken while I was gone visiting my family. I again confronted him. I broke up with him. The fool that I was, I got back with him about a month later. I tried to break up with him several more times, but I just wasn't strong enough. I stayed with him for 7 years. At the end, we didn't have sex for 4 years. He was supportive and funny. However, the romantic side of our relationship was lacking. At the very end, he started going out at night, and he didn't come with me on vacations or seeing my family. I felt that he was cheating, and I broke up with him finally. I wish that it hadn't taken me so long. I still feel guilty for staying with him for so long and not breaking up. Hi guys. I'm really confused, shocked, broken, and basically lost in my emotions. We've been together for 11 years. She was my first love. We basically grew up together. We lived together. I thought that our friendship is so pure and transparent. I really loved her. However, I was wrong. She cheated on me with her colleague like 6 months ago, and didn't tell me. I lived all this time without knowing it, but our relationship began to be more and more fragile. In the end, we broke up recently. As she said, they never talked about this or slept together again because he has wife and kids, and this was just a dumb drunk night, but they still worked together. Few weeks after we broke up, she asked me to meet and she confessed about what happened 6 months ago because she couldn't carry the burden. Well, that sucks, because now I'm the one carrying the burden of her faults. Also, she said that after we broke up, she got destructive and slept with another guy that she met few days before we broke up. However, she said she felt even worse after that. Plus, this guy rejected her later. She apologized to me and cried a lot. My heart was broken. I never cheated on her for all these 11 years. I tried to be as good as possible to her. I never thought that she could be making things like that. It's just hard for me to process it. However, I feel very weird and confused at the same time, because with all the disappointment and anger, I still love her very much. I think about her every day. Big part of me wants to forgive her and try to fix the situation. Past month was a disaster. I just don't know what to do. It looks like she goes through a lot because of her mistakes, and she is really very sorry. At the same time, she says that she don't think that this can be fixed because I will never trust her again. I'm heartbroken. I just want my life before this nonsense back, but I don't know if I should forgive her and try to fix it. I thought we will marry, have kids, etc., and now everything I dreamed about is gone. I'm a nail tech and I usually post my work on my Instagram page to show new clients or possible clients my work. One day, I had a client come in and I've changed her name to Nancy. Nancy was a regular. She's someone I'd see at least every month for a fill or a set in general. She was usually loud and outgoing, but this time she came in, and I didn't get that energy at all. She sat down and showed me a picture. The picture was of a blue long set that I had done almost at least 5 days ago. She told me straight up that that's exactly what she wanted, down to the shape, length, charms, all of it. I was confused, because I know she would usually get freestyles, so I asked her what's up. That's when shit went downhill. She started to tell me about how she'd seen this exact set in a video on her husband's phone, and that she was the woman her husband had been sleeping with. She'd tried waiting for her husband to confess, but he didn't cave. Recently, he'd been complaining about her hands, or how ugly her nail sets were, and how she should have been doing them. And each inspo pic he showed her was of one of the same sets I'd done on the other woman. So she decided to get the exact same nails for however long. Her husband didn't get rid of the affair, just to drive him insane because he couldn't fathom not knowing what's going on. In my mind, I was screaming, oh shit. I ended up doing the exact same set on Nancy. I continued to do the other client's nails as well, and whenever she would come in for a new set, I'd shoot Nancy a text to come in as well. Her husband began to catch on to the women having the same nails. It got to the point where he was so nervous around Nancy, knowing that she definitely knew. Her husband ended up confronting her about it, and he ended his affair with the other woman. They ended up divorcing, as well as the process is still going on. But the funniest part about it all is that the day Nancy's husband asked her out to dinner so they could talk, she booked a session with me for a fill-in. She brought in their wedding vows that were each written on small cards that were read at their wedding, and asked me to encapsulate the vows onto the nails. This was the craziest set I've ever done, and by far the funniest revenge ever. I ended up doing her nails, and she went out to dinner with her husband along with the divorce papers. As far as the other woman, I completely stopped servicing her, because my policy doesn't allow whores. She was very much aware of Nancy as well as the marriage. I cheated on my lifelong partner. I unwisely confessed even though there was no pressing need to do so. I did so out of some fear that my secret would somehow eventually come out many years from now by some random happenstance. She was devastated, I told her several months ago. The intensity of her anger hasn't subsided, nor has her constant crying. What is worse is that out of revenge, she has become suddenly hyper-promiscuous. I could never have predicted this because she, before all this started, I was her one and only sexual partner. She's openly sleeping with many men and talking about getting wilder and wilder. She clearly isn't deriving pleasure from her outings either. Every time she does this, she comes back angrier than before and crying even more than before. She says that she is intent on sullying herself as much as possible in order to hurt me. She was definitely the nicest person I've ever met in my entire life. But my betrayal has unleashed an altogether different person. I am astonished at how she is able to sustain these levels of anger after so many months. I'm terrified because neither her anger or constant crying or her revenge-based promiscuity show any signs of abating anytime soon. I've been recalcitrant. I've endured her anger. I'm making an effort to be helpful and to salvage our relationship, but nothing seems to be working. I've never been in this position before. I'd welcome hearing from others. This hyper-promiscuity, is this a normal response? Will her anger subside eventually? Will her hyper-promiscuity subside eventually? Last year I was dating a guy for several months, who I then learnt was double dating me and another girl throughout the whole time we were together. I left him there and then and was fuming for weeks on end. I'd imagine all sorts of scenarios to get back at him, but I knew I did not want to waste more of my time on that kind of trash. So I let go and moved on. Today I learned through a mutual friend that the other girl whom he was seeing when we were together and eventually became his girlfriend cheated on him, and they recently broke up. Oddly enough, it was like someone was telling me the walls are white or the sun rises in the east. I felt absolutely nothing. Maybe a twang of satisfaction, but that's it. If I had learnt back then that he had gotten his karma, I would have probably thrown a party, but today I just made coffee and went by my day. It felt odd, and quite frankly, I was more surprised with my own indifference than the news itself. But I guess that just goes to prove that we can move on. So if you're thinking of striking back or contemplating revenge, don't. You are the better person and you're worth more than that. Let karma do the dirty work. And it will in due time. You've got bigger and better things to do with your life then, to waste more time and energy on garbage who don't deserve it to begin with. Maybe keep a voodoo doll or a punching bag for therapy, lol. So recently broke things off with my ex because I found out she was lying and cheating on me virtually the entire time we were together. I found it, she was on dating sites talking and meeting up with other guys. Finding this out broke me. I created a fake profile on one of the sites she was on and was able to match with her. I carried on conversations with her under this false persona, during which time she never once even acknowledged my existence, and flat out lying to this guy about details of her life. Now I became bitter and angry as opposed to just hurt. I want revenge. So my question is, what's the best revenge? I was able to set up a sex date for her to meet this fake person. Do I send her to a random house as I park down the street to watch her walk of shame up and down, then crushing her by saying that she was being played? Or do I bypass the fake rendezvous and just crush her with words? I slept with someone, and I fucking loved it. I didn't plan to go out, let a stranger chat me up and get me into bed. But that is exactly what happened. I took an impromptu work trip yesterday. One of the girls couldn't make it, so I picked it up. Sometimes I say no to these. Most of the time. But with all that's going on, I wanted to be anywhere but home. Home is a reminder of the buzzing of the dryer that started this whole thing. That annoying little sound led me to discover something that I wish I could undiscover. There's no other answer. He must have had someone over. I don't even feel bad, at this moment anyway. It's been almost a day since it happened. My feelings have gone from guilt to giving no fucks to sad to mad to guilt, and everything in between, if that is even possible. But no happy. There is no happy. Not anymore.